local artists. We've really built this to something special. So thank you so much for coming. I hope everybody's had a chance to have a bite to eat and something to drink. And it's going to be a really enlightening and positive experience tonight because my good friend Leslie Alterman is here to talk to us about living and leading an artful life. But I'll turn it over to Catherine, who's the connector here, and I'll let her introduce Leslie.
All right.
Is that good?
Well, everyone, I just want to give you a big round of applause for getting here tonight.
Yay!
I know you're scared of traffic today, but you're here. So just want to thank everyone for coming out to the Buckhead Art and Social Hour. And some of you are new, have not been to this event before. But this really, we've done networking for years, at least I have. And the events have been very formal. This is very organic. It's a light social. We just come admire some art and hear from some great people in the fine arts. And I really want people to embrace art and have more art in their life. It's that simple. So I just encourage you to get to know some people tonight and get some cards, have some coffee or dinner or a drink, or maybe get out and just go to a museum. But we really want to bring people together to appreciate the arts. And I know some of you are just art enthusiasts, some of you might be collectors, but it was really a treat when I got to meet Dawn, and she was featured in Simply Buckhead. And Britt at the Buckhead Club said, I think you should meet this woman. So I thought they were long lost friends, but no, this was a cold call. It really was. So Dawn and I got together and had lunch, and we ended up staying for a few hours, and we've already had a couple of events together. So, and then we've met other people like Sue here, who is the woman with the awesome tequila. So if you love tequila, chat with Sue. But all of you have something that brought you out today, and I just encourage you get to know some people. And that's where doors open and great things happen. So with that, I will say if I haven't met you, I'd love to get to know you. Please reach out and let's have coffee or a chat, and let's just find out how we can help each other. And thank you, and thank you, Dawn. So with that, I'm going to introduce our artist, and we're going to hear from Leslie.
Yes. Oh, Leslie. Sue can stand here too.
No.
No, I'm
So pretty.
Yes, forget it. We're going to let you just talk to us and tell us about your art today.
Yes.
So, Leslie Alterman!
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here tonight. I really appreciate you, Dawn, for inviting me to talk about Artful Living. Artful Living is something that I really am passionate about, something I care about deeply. I also care about community and us being together, eyeball to eyeball, shoulder to shoulder, in connection with one another. I think art is about connecting to one another, so I'm really passionate about that. So I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. I know you could be watching the debate or going to a soccer game, but you chose to be here and fight through traffic, and I'm really grateful for that. When Dawn asked me to talk about Artful Living, I was like, okay, I have some ideas. Can you give me more information? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, I work best that way. I'm an intuitive artist, and I'm from Atlanta. I'm a mother and a wife, and I have lots of roles, but I've always sort of been an artist. And when Dawn asked me to do this talk, I was curious, so I did a poll on Instagram, and I asked everyone, what does Artful Living mean to you? And people gave a lot of different words, but the common thread was freedom. And so that gave me pause. I was like, how does that apply to me? And what is the common thread with me? And I started thinking about a time when I felt the most free as an artist and the most pure. And when I felt the most free and the most pure, it was when I was a child. And I used to put on my Rick Springfield album and dance in my Bahama Mama t-shirt and my underwear, you know? And there was no more freedom than me in that moment, in that body, you know? And my summers were spent outside in nature, and I'm very much drawn to nature and love it dearly, which is why I have the Wildflower series that I just did. This is the first of my paintings that I did of wildflowers. I'm also a teacher. I teach my intuitive process, which is lending itself to anything you want to do. It's not a painting class, it's more a class about the intuitive process. And the intuitive process started when I was 24 years old, and I was surrounded by artists, but I wasn't an artist. And I worked for my father in his business that he started, which was phone programming and selling phone systems to small businesses. And he threw the book at me and said, learn how to do it. And so that was sort of like how I grew up, is everybody said, just figure it out. And I hated it at the time, but it helped me so much with my own process of how I paint now. And what I realize is everything I've ever done has led me to this point. And I was working for my dad when I was 24, and he was like, one day you'll own this business. One day you'll own this business. And I was very confronted with this because I really wanted my dad's approval and love. And I also wanted to be an artist. So I had to go in his office one day. I gathered all the courage that I could muster to stand in front of him and say, Dad, I'm an artist. I did not get his approval or his love in that moment. But what I did get was the approval of myself and following my own heart. And I would say that's at the core of Artful Living for me, is really listening to your own heart. So if you want to do something with me really quick, I'd like for you to put your hands on your heart. Close your eyes. And take a deep breath. And ask yourself the question, what is artful living for me? And maybe an answer came and maybe it didn't. But whatever the first thing was is the answer. And so that is what I do in my process. I go to my heart and I ask myself the question, and then I proceed with curiosity. So I think courage does lead to freedom, right? Like, if you want the freedom, you have to have the courage to stand in your truth, and you have to have the courage to walk that path. And what I realized was when I did that, a lot of synchronicity happened. The road sort of unfolded. And I get the chills talking about it. I'm really grateful to be here because that is what led me here in this moment right now today. And so I went to massage school. That was my first kind of introduction into the healing arts. And I learned about the body, and I learned about my senses. And, there's superficial touch, there's deep touch, there's learning about different pressure. There I learned about pressure in that sense of feel. And then I was a photographer, and that taught me about light and shadow, and it taught me about perspective, it taught me about macro and micro, it taught me about people and studying them, which led me to figure drawing and really studying form. And again, shadow and light helped a lot with that. And then I started painting, and I started painting in my basement after I lost a child. And I was in there, and I was developing this process that was just getting me through grief, really. And it was an intuitive process, and I was making mud mostly. Mostly I was just making mud. But I was enjoying the sensation of paint, and I was connecting the paint to the expression of grief. And mud's pretty much right on when it comes to grief. It feels like mud. I wondered if there was anybody else that was doing what I was doing, and I found some women in Portland, Oregon that were doing the same thing, and they called themselves intuitive artists. And so my curiosity led me to traveling. I went to Morocco, I went to Portland, I went to California, I went to New York, and I started networking and meeting these women that were doing the same thing that I was doing and speaking the same language. And I would just say creating community and being willing to travel and taking risk and being afraid is also all a part of Artful Living. And I teach, and I really want to give people what I experienced, and the person that I wish I had had when I was 24 years old and lost. I try to be that for other people. So I also teach, and I teach the intuitive process. This is my work. That's who I am. I hope that I explained Artful Living in a way that inspires. And I'd love to open it up for discussion if anybody wants to ask questions or anything.
I will say that probably about 8 years ago or so, I did one of Leslie's workshops over 2 days. And I'm a technically trained artist, and I'm very technical. And Leslie had me do 2 things. The first was work hard on a painting and then paint over it. And then she had us get blindfold, put on some fun music, and paint blindfolded. And those things stayed with me. And it allowed me to actually become a lot freer with my art. So I thank Leslie, and I know as Leslie lives an artful life. I knew she would be the great person to talk with all of you, because she lives that every step of her life. So I'm glad that this worked out. And
Yay.
for all of you.
Thank you all.
And now anybody else can ask 2 questions. Since I wrote these.
Yes.
I loved what you were leading us into about being intuitive and having that be the source of what you create, and not being driven by what external standards are for art and the rules and the judgments that go with what's good, what isn't, what's fine art, what isn't. And I also think that when we are looking at art, we're finding meaning for ourselves, because when something resonates, we discover ourselves. We discover something, some aspect of our character, our personality, our story that is coming through from another person's creation that vibes to us.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. That moment's exciting. I think that's what Artful Living is also. I live with paintings all around me, and they're like my family. And I look to them all the time for reminders of who I am.
I love that.
So
It's a good connection. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So for people who are not artists by themselves, but are in rediscovery, would you suggest that is a great place for them as well?
Yes, absolutely. I think everybody's an artist. I think you just have to remember.
it's true.
Yeah.
Any authors that you follow?
Oh, I forgot to mention the authors that are I had a whole speech.
Practicing.
This is my husband. You knew my whole speech.
Good one. Good one.
Oh my God.
Did you
I
sit
left
that
out the whole
over on the
part.
table?
No, I don't know any.
Yeah, both.
I really love Sark. Sark was one of the first authors that I found. She handwrites all her books. It's in like crayon. Do you know her? Okay, yay, Sark fan. Yeah, I found her in a library. She was one of the first artists, and she writes books called Eating Mangoes Naked, Succulent Wild Woman, Inspiration Sandwich. Those are a few titles. If anyone knows about Artful Living, it's Sark, right? And then Julia Cameron's Artist Way.
Yes.
Bow down. Yeah, she's the goat of all artists recovery. And she taught me 3 principles, which were morning pages, daily walks, and artist dates. All of those 3 things I still do to this day. Morning pages are stream of consciousness writing first thing in the morning. And then daily walks is like almost like a vision quest, moving the body to get out of the head so that like the divine can come through. And I get a lot of inspiration on my daily walks, as well as artist dates. Artist dates are like whatever your inner hankering is. Maybe you've been wanting to go to an art supply store and you haven't let yourself, like do that. Or I did stand-up comedy. That was a nightmare, but I did it. You did it too? Okay, yeah.
Hardest thing.
Yeah, awful. Why don't we do it to ourselves? But I think that stuff is important in the journey, is to just really put yourself out there and like do everything afraid, do it scared. I'm terrified right now, like I hate this. But you know, I think that's important, to expose yourself to different things and just take it all in, and somewhere down the line it matters. You know, you're just like planting seeds and gathering things. So thank you for asking that question, honey. Yes.
I'd like to do a little exercise.
Wonderful.
So I want y'all to answer out loud. What is the most popular soft drink in the world?
Coke.
If you don't have any money, you are
Broke.
Croak.
The sound of a frog is
Croak.
White of an egg is a
Go. Hey. Hey.
What? I missed it.
the white of an egg is the white. the alphabet. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
yet,
That's
but
awesome.
the 3 questions,
Mm-hmm.
everybody answered wrong. Because we're that easily programmed and influenced by things around us.
Mm.
And we all knew how to draw in kindergarten, but if somebody asked you if you can draw now, you probably go, oh no, I can't draw. But every one of us did at one point.
I love that.
So my whole point is just artful living. Art is, you just gotta find what you're comfortable with, whether it's painting, whether it's making a beautiful garden. You gotta not worry about what anybody else thinks or what anybody tells you. It's like you said, feel it. But that simple exercise just shows how easily everything can be ruined by one teacher that said, gave you a D on a
By a
drawing,
different
or,
thought, yeah.
You know, and then you go, well, I can't draw, I'm never gonna do that again. You know?
Yeah.
And it
Facts.
affects us in so many areas of our life, the paradigms that we form about ourselves.
Wow.
And, you know, I do think it takes having a good support system, whether it's family, friends, a mentor, that you have a safe place to land. As you could see, Leslie's family is here,
Yeah.
most of them. And to put yourself out there does take courage. And to have that to fall back on is just amazing. I did want to take a moment and introduce Morgan Schrader, who is over here. So Morgan is a fantastic, beautiful artist, and this space is about supporting arts and supporting each other and letting people live the most artful life they can, even when they didn't mean to be an artist and they're an interior designer and then they find out they're an artist by accident. And so she has these beautiful botanicals that are here. So I wanted to welcome Morgan. She's new to the art world and to the gallery. So I don't know if you want to say anything.
Oh, yeah, Morgan.
I want to put you on the spot, but
Yeah,
I tend to do that to people.
Yes, this is not my forte here. Speeches. I mean, you did a fantastic
Same
job.
girl, but go ahead.
But like Dawn said, I just kind of fell into painting botanicals back in the fall, and they just have really taken off. And I feel very grateful to be here and be here tonight. And I hope that you enjoy.
Thank you.
Greatness.
Someone else raised their hand, a couple of
So
people.
I just wanted to ask real quick, do you have any workshops coming up, number one? And number two, where can we find you?
I would love to do another workshop, and I'm thinking in the fall. We just moved. That was a huge undertaking, and I'm taking the summer to just ground. But yes, in the fall, there is going to be more workshops for sure. I can't wait to do it. And if you are looking for me, I have a website, lesliealterman.com. I write a blog every week, so I love to connect in that way. I love writing. So you can comment and keep in touch. And I really do love keeping in touch and talking to people and vibing with people. So please comment and reach out and let's talk. And Instagram's a great way to find me too, Leslie Alterman Art. Yeah, I love to connect. I love connection. So please feel free. Thank you.
Dope.
Okay, well, one more, and then we'll.
It's actually a comment. I love the fact that your artwork developed from a place of pain and a place of grief, because something beautiful can happen out of our pain, and that led to all of this beautiful artwork and so much
Thank
more.
you.
So,
Appreciate that.
you're welcome.
Greatness.
All right, I just want to ask everyone to, again, thank Dawn for hosting this evening.